Are you saying you faked with me?
Yeah.
Wrong. Now you're single.
What do you know about sexual relations?
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
You're listening to the Come With Us podcast, talking the good, the kinky, and the ugly. Here are your hosts, Beth, Aaron, and Tina.
Hello, all you sexy holes and poles. Welcome to Come With Us podcast, where we've got everything that men want to know about love, sex, and relationships. We know that sexy stuff matters just as much as all that lovey-dovey stuff. And we're here to help you get all the love and pleasure and sexy fun you deserve. Today we're talking about something uniquely masculine, and that is the key. It's the key to men's happiness. It is the prostate pleasure, prostate health. And with us today is my good friend, Forrest Andrews from Aneros. They are the world's leading manufacturer of prostate massagers. And you'll understand at the end of this episode, in the end of next episode, exactly why these things are so miraculous, so wonderful, so amazing. You'll absolutely want one, a prostate, just to use them. So thank you, Forrest, for being here. Tina and Aaron, I know that y'all are excited to learn about the key to men's happiness. It's like a prostate pleasure button, right?
For sure. It's definitely something I've been always very curious about.
Yeah. Peeing standing up in a prostate. That's pretty much, I think, the advantage of being a man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because, we hear about the female, quote unquote, G-spot, whatever you hear about it a lot more, which is, in and of itself, not a lot of people, I think, really know or understand exactly that topic itself, but we don't hear a lot about what we would say is like the male G-spot, which is what they call, the prostate. And I think it's still and I'm going to be honest, like a pretty taboo, like topic in and of itself. And something that I have never found someone, actually, that's not true. One person I've hooked up with or been with, has allowed me to do, stuff in the back door, but, and it did not go well, actually, funnily enough.
All right.
So,
well, I promise you, I've talked to a lot of people about this stuff, and nobody knows more about the science, the physiology, the products, and everything than us. So, Forrest, welcome. So glad you're here. And I don't want to tell your story. I love hearing your story. So can you just give us an idea? How did you get to be like the prostate, the answer man?
Well, it wasn't anything that I went to university for. Let's put it that way. Although that did play into it and sort of in the long scheme of things, of course. But really, first I should say I am the product and business development manager with Aneros. Okay. And I have been working with them in that capacity since 2016. However, my association with them goes back far longer, over 20 years, really, at this point. And really what it came down to is that, strangely enough, it began with an issue that I had. I had prostate issues. I was one of those lucky lads who got chronic prostatitis from his early 20s. And I spent years, as a matter of fact, decades, really trying to bring it under control. I went through, a lot of antibiotic therapy. I was on one particular one for over a year and a half. I got all sorts of sensitivities because of that. It was really terrible. I was looking into diet. I'm sorry?
Tell us what prostatitis is.
It is in general, it is considered an inflammation of the prostate. Now, it can occur for a variety of different reasons. The most basic one is when it's bacterial in origin. But most of the time, particularly when it comes to chronic prostatitis, that is not the case. It is what they call idiopathic, which is a big word meaning we don't know what the fuck it is. Okay.
I love that.
And and so they have looked at this problem for many years. It one of the theories is that it may have started as something that was bacterial that created neuropathy, which is essentially sort of a nerve dysfunction in the area, in the pelvic floor, that's creating pain. Another theory on it is that people, as a byproduct of having inflammation, as a matter of fact, this is common to all muscles in the body. If you have inflammation, you have calcium deposits, and these calcium deposits build up over time. They can build up in the prostate, and they can, produce problems there. So that's another theory that perhaps may be involved with it. But in my own case, I had chronic prostatitis. It was not bacterial in origin because I'd taken antibiotics that wiped out everything in my body.
Ouch.
And I was still left with them. So I was looking into diet. I was looking into, all sorts of different things to try to bring it under control. And at that point, I was really looking for, alternative approaches. I came upon a product online that was touted as a prostate massager for that could be used for the purposes of treating the symptoms of prostatitis. I bought the product. And from the first time that I used it, within 5 minutes, I was beset by the most powerful orgasm that I had ever had in my life. Now, bear in mind, I was not seeking this out. That's not what I was after. I was trying to deal with the symptoms of prostatitis. And what I got was an orgasm that lasted for almost 2 minutes long.
Wow.
That started in my pelvis, that radiated over in my entire body. And I was like, what the hell was that? I was in shock, make a long story short, kind of continued on with that practice. Of course, you might gather that I wanted to kind of follow that rabbit hole and find out where it went. 6 months later, I was no longer having any of the prostatitis symptoms, and I was having these very, very powerful orgasms. So I contacted the company, and at that point, they were selling pretty much as a health device, but they had received feedback from people like myself who were having these really powerful orgasms. Wow. And they started selling the product as a pleasure product shortly thereafter. And I kind of started a relationship with them, and they asked me if I wanted to be a product tester, and that was certainly a no-brainer for me, because I was having such a great time with it. And basically from 2003 and to the present time, from 2003 until 2016, I tested all of their products for them.
Wow.
So I was the guy, And I did this on an unpaid basis. I mean, I was doing this because I really, part of it is that I wanted other men to experience what I had experienced. And I wanted to spread the word about this. And so that's how I got into it. So
I freaking love that.
So I don't know exactly, I don't know what it would feel like to have prostatitis, but I would imagine that whatever discomfort or pain you were in had to be absolutely debilitating, because I have to be missing an arm to go to a doctor. I don't care, especially if it were something below the belt. Yeah. I'm not talking to a doctor about shit. And I'm in my 30s now, but you were in your 20s. And it was so bad that you finally went to a doctor. I can't imagine talking to a doctor. Yes, they're trained professionals. They're used to it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I don't care. I know some people who are doctors. I know people who've worked in the medical profession. Yeah. And they still chuckle about it when you leave the room, because it's funny. You got to kind of lose your sense of your self-consciousness about it. But I cannot imagine being in my 20s and going to my doctor and being like, hey, something's not working from where my knees start all the way up to where my ass begins. I don't know. There's something in there you got to figure out.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. When you were in your 20s, did you enjoy drinking?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, what I found is that prostatitis was totally exacerbated by any drinking that I did. Ooh. Coffee, same thing. Caffeine. So all of a sudden, spicy food. So all of a sudden, my life was becoming I felt like I was a monk Yeah. It wasn't fun. Could
you have regular sex?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I did. But I would say this is that when the flare-ups were at their worst, no, I wasn't. So it was affecting that too.
Yeah, right.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, so Aaron, that's the reason. At a certain point, it's like, hey, you got to have some intervention on this. You got to deal with this because it's deeply impacting your life and in your social life. I mean, you didn't feel like going out and having a good time, and sometimes it's just really terrible. Again, it's this pelvic pain we're talking about, testicular pain we're talking about.
Yeah.
It was not fun. So
and women now, it's finally like okay to be like, oh, we've got PMS, or we're having cramps, and for a guy to tell people, oh, I can't go out because my crotch hurts, like my balls hurt, that has to be bad. But
well, I got to tell you one thing and for a long time is that whenever I'd go out to a restaurant, I would be grilling the server with everything that's in the food. Okay. And my friends were like, what is this all about? And I came up with this bullshit about, that I'd go into anaphylactic shock if I had black pepper on my food.
Wow.
Did I really want to get into a conversation about what it was really all about? No. Right. Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. It was something that I wanted to address and I wanted to get rid of.
Now, was it like going in and saying, especially it was like a testicular pain, was it at least a little bit of a weight off your shoulders walking into the doctor and going, like, because my immediate, I'm kind of pessimistic about things. I would have walked in and been like, I have testicular cancer. I'm going to die. Just, you can test me, but I've got cancer. I'm done. Like, was it at least then they gave you an answer and they're like, oh, it's prostatitis. I don't understand because I've been to doctors where I've had, ailments where I'm like, okay, what causes that? And they're like, we don't fucking know. Like, oh, great.
Right.
You studied how much, but it was still like, I feel like it would be a relief for them to go, oh, we know exactly what this is.
Well, that was one off the checklist. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But the other part that was the downer about all of it and I didn't get this immediately, but within short order and after doing some reading, I realized this isn't something that they've ever really had a particularly good handle on, and they still don't. I'm talking about, the medical community. It's really something it's been very elusive. And, at the time, before I knew any better, I was like, can you take it out? Can you take my prostate out? When he explained to me when that was involved with that, I checked that one off the list too.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like what we sort of miss in that is that you went to the doctors, they gave you medicines that you were on for 20 years that didn't help. And it was only trying some wackadoo, right? I'm sure that was your thought, some wackadoo thing from the internet that did.
Right.
But can you tell us a little bit, or at some point, Nina, you can ask, but I want to know about the symptoms of prostatitis for people out there that
let's talk about
that.
And then I really wanted to talk about after that, just how you started to incorporate that like into your life. Like, was it through just sexy time, like when you were having sex, or was it when you were by yourself? How did it become like an everyday part of your life? And then we can go from there. But so the symptoms of prostatitis, if people are looking for them.
Well, it's not fun, folks, but I wish I could tell you that it was more specific than this, but they are really the symptoms of a UTI, of a urinary tract infection. It's difficulty in urinating, so it's going to be burning, whether when you're urinating. It may be difficulty in actually voiding urine, depending on how bad it is. It's a feeling of a dull pain in the groin, I would say, in the rectum, and in the testicles, and it ain't no fun.
Wow.
Yeah, I have had a couple. I've had a good amount of UTIs, but I've had like two unbelievable, like really unbelievable, and it's no joke. Like those are, that pain is just the worst pain ever. So I can only imagine how that must be.
It's not fun.
I went to the emergency room for a UTI once, like having no idea.
I did too.
I can't imagine having that all. Okay.
Well, I did
and
too.
Actually,
was
Go
going to
ahead.
say I made a trip down to New Orleans one year, and I threw caution to the wind, drinking and eating all sorts of spicy food down there. And when I came back afterwards, I did land in the hospital with the UTI. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a UTI. This was all prostatitis related. So.
Wow. Okay. And this is what happens to older people, right? Older guys when they're peeing all the time. Generally, it's the prostatitis.
Well, but that's for a different reason, actually. No, that's BPH. When we talk about prostatitis, basically it is the most common thing that men under 50 will see a urologist for.
Huh. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
I have no
that
idea.
is no idea either.
Very common.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll get to Nina's question, but let me just also make sure that men understand, or whoever's listening, like where the prostate is, right? So the prostate it's a wall-sized gland that surrounds the urethra.
That's correct. It does.
And how do you describe between the rectum and the penis? How do you describe the location?
Well, it's a walnut-shaped gland. It's about the size of a walnut, and it is situated below the bladder is what it is. So it's
okay,
and it is adjacent to the rectum. Correct.
Okay. And so the best access to it is from inside the butt.
That's correct.
There's limited access to it from the external area, right? From the taint area.
From the perineum or the taint. Yeah, you can access it there, and it can be stimulated there, but much more direct via the anus and the rectum. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So then Tina wanted to know how are you saying that?
I think it's piggybacking off that, but generally, like, how did you? So we're kind of talking about this in a medical sense. Mm-hmm. Like, this was obviously relieving your ailment. How does this play more into like your sex life, basically? Like,
let's get away from the pain.
Well, and I think I would preface that by saying, like, you don't have to have prostatitis to do prostate play, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Really, folks, I mean, really what it comes down to is that happened to be my access to all of this. That's what led me into this. But for that, I would not have ever experienced this other thing. So it was all kind of a happy accident, akin to the invention of champagne for me. In terms of the getting to the pleasure. Yeah. As I say, the first time I had it, it was this, absolutely outrageous orgasm. So I spent the next months, exploring this as much as I possibly could, and trying to figure out what it was really all about. Right. And it was fascinating because I will tell you, as easily as it came that very first time that I used it, there were times in the coming weeks where it was like I couldn't make it happen. And I put stress on make it happen because what I came to find out in that 6 to really 8 months is that this was a different type of orgasm, and that it was nurtured and cultivated in a completely different way, much more so than an ejaculation. Ejaculations were and all guys know, and many women know as well, very straightforward. I mean, it's the buzzwords that you have with that is, tighter, harder, faster, longer. All of that stuff applies. If you apply that same methodology to a prostate orgasm, it's a non-starter.
So,
okay.
Was your first experience with this, I think you called it a super O, right?
Yes.
O.
Yeah.
Did that not include ejaculation?
No, these are not. That's a very important distinction, by the way, that Beth just brought up. These are non-ejaculatory orgasms. As a matter of fact, that's really one of the keys to it. A lot of people assume that ejaculation and orgasm are the same thing.
Huh.
They're not. They are separable. Okay. So once you do that, something very interesting happens. There, you no longer have, when a man has an ejaculation, okay, it creates what's known as a refractory period. This is in the resolution phase of the the human sexual response. This is where the recovery phase kicks in.
Mhm.
And that ushers in certain biochemical changes in the body that make a man incapable of having another erection. I mean, this is the timeout that guys get, right?
Mhm.
So if you're able to have an orgasm without ejaculating, no refractory period, no recovery period, you can literally have these orgasms over and over and over again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
mystery of the male multiple orgasm. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so when you play like this, what about including your partner in something like this? Because we really only talked about, yourself and stuff, but is this something that you do, or, have you included a partner or,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. No question about it. First of all, I should say this too, is that, for those who are not having this Super O that we're talking about, you can use this particular product, our product, the Aneros, right out of the box, okay, without any training whatsoever. And it will amplify any sexual encounter. So if one is having sexual intercourse, you're getting a blowjob, kissing, hugging, it provides this supplementary stimulation, this very powerful stimulation internally without you having, to touch it. It does this based upon, a dynamic interaction with your own contractions, voluntary and involuntary. So yeah, it's very powerful when you're using it with a partner. In addition to that, there's one other thing that you have to consider, and that is this came down the line for me. I'm going to put that out there, so this wasn't something that was like a beginner's technique. But once I became proficient with it, I was able to channel this kind of energy. I was able to choose to have this kind of orgasm versus an ejaculation. So what that meant is that all of a sudden I have, gone are the days where you're having to recite, baseball scores in your head to stave off an ejaculation, right? Because I was able to essentially have, when I became so aroused that I was going to have an orgasm, I would have one of these orgasms and I'd maintain my erection.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Damn.
Listen, it's something that all men are capable of,
Mm-hmm.
but you got to take the journey. You have to go down the alternate path.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And maybe perhaps like going off that, if this is something you want to explore, where would you recommend that someone starts, and how would you even like ask to do something like this? Because that's where I think a lot of people would be like, I don't even know, like, how do I bring this up? What do I talk, like,
So I think that's a great part, like a great point to like hold off, because we want to do a whole nother episode all about basically the how-tos, what to bring up, how to actually do it, and advice from the king of super orgasms.
The king.
Yeah, right. It's okay. I say I'm a prostate champion because I love to talk and encourage men to find their prostate and to enjoy it. And truly, I've had clients that have told me it really is the key to their happiness. That they think it's the key to man's happiness in general. So, but I will point out too, just FYI, and we'll talk about this more next time too. But my partners have used the prostate massagers, and they've done it in conjunction with an ejaculative orgasm, and it is still. They've like gone on and on and on. So
yes, it's an amplifier.
Magic. Yeah,
it's an amplifier.
There you go.
There's no question about it.
Yeah. So that's very cool. Okay. So before we wrap this up though, we have a question for you, and that is, what can you give our audience a sexy tip or a sexy story? One of your faves. Sexy tip or story?
Well, sexy tip. Okay. I am a big fan for nipple stimulation. As a matter of fact, nipple stimulation is, for me, I can orgasm over and over and over again. Again, there are these types of orgasms that we were talking about. I haven't gotten into this, but I came to a point where I was able to use all sorts of different kinds of stimulation to create this whole body orgasm. We can talk about that a further down the line. But for those who are not,
makes me want to like touch myself.
Yeah.
I wish I could have an orgasm just by touching my boobs. God.
For those who are not nipple awakened, it is something that you can do. I mean, it was kind of interesting because for some reason, my right nipple never experienced sensation the way that my left one did at all. It just wasn't erotic at all. And I was able to train it to do that.
Wow.
And it's something that one can do over time. And what it is that you associate, a positive type of stimulation, erotic stimulation, with another. And over a period of time, your body learns that as something that it's experiencing that is arousing.
Wow.
So, I was able to do that with some. Actually, my right nipple is probably more sensitive now than my left one is. Yeah. It's the go-to.
Okay, we're gonna have to like each go test our nipples.
I know,
see.
for real.
I love it. So, okay. Well, thank you, Forrest, so much for being here. This is Forrest Andrews from Aneros, and truly, they have several different kinds, but this is their packaging. Amazing products, and that's the UFO and with the Helix and the Sin and. Anyway, so we will talk all about, but you can go to Aneros.com and go check out their stuff too. And next episode, we're going to give everybody specifics, how to use and enjoy your prostate in a way that's pleasurable and fun, and hopefully with an Aneros prostate massager. So, well, thank you. I'm Beth Darling. Thank you all so much for joining us for Come With Us podcast. Thanks, Tina and Aaron, for Aaron's probably wiggling in his chair because I don't think he's explored his prostate, but we'll talk about that one too next time. So it's my sexy pleasure to be with y'all. And thank you. We will see you next time here at Come With Us podcast.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Come With Us podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media at Come With Us podcast and send in your questions, comments, and confessions to comewithusconfessions@gmail.com. Until next time, keep it fun, flirty, and naughty.